Scentland, the land of scent. Chris back with another fragrance review, and this time I'm reviewing my favorite, my top 3 fragrances from the house of Hugo Boss, the German house of Hugo Boss, which I actually quite like, because they used to produce great fragrances. And there's the first clue to my review. Why? Because anyone who is expecting me now to pull out Boss Bottled or Bottled Night or Bottled Sport or the latest scent, the scent, I just sniffed that today. No. If you expect me to do that now, it's not gonna happen, so I'm so sorry for that. I think I have a good and wide overview of Boss fragrances of the past more than 30 years when I first started. And I have put my top 3 together accordingly. So you're gonna see those fragrances which are my favorite ones, okay? It's my opinion, it's my taste and all that. But I also hope that I bring you a little bit of a fresh wind in terms of, this house and what actually they've been capable of releasing in the earlier days. And it's not a nostalgic thing that I'm an old guy and I think, all the things have been so great in the past and now everything is crap. No, it's just the naked truth. The fact that the fragrances I'm going to be introducing are good smelling, have great performance, are consisting of great ingredients and are something special. Yet the ones which I'm leaving out of my reviews, they didn't make it because I don't think that they're as good as these. So, spot number 3 then is a fragrance released by Hugo Boss in the year of 1987. And it's called Boss Sport. Have you ever seen this bottle around? I don't think so, because it's extremely rare. And you see, 1987 was the year when, I think if I remember well, Pat Cash has won Wimbledon, those were the days, and anyway, tennis was very highly regarded at the time with Boris Becker just emerging, Steffi Graf, Navratilova, my favorite McEnroe, still around. So tennis was probably the #1 sport at the time, really. And with the big stars and everything, and Hugo Boss obviously decided to ride that wave because we have this little tennis rackets there, it's there, yes. So it's definitely a reference to the sport, the white sport, the tennis, the sport of tennis, and which was remarkable at the day. And this actually smells like a tennis court, maybe Wimbledon center court, right? It's really grassy, it's aromatic, it's green, mossy as well, bit soapy as well, maybe a locker room smell, maybe, but definitely not a citrusy type of aquatic or easygoing disappear in 2 hours sort of sports fragrance. This is great juice. This is a great juice. It lasts you throughout the day easy, and it's you can say it's dated. It's not dated. I would never say that. I would say it smells like the 80s, like the tennis 80s. I mean, if you want to be reminded of those days, or if you want just to catch a sniff or a whiff of classy times when sports fragrances were different than the ones today. This is one of the leading examples together with Sport de Paco Rabanne, in my opinion. These are the best 2 sport fragrances maybe of the 80s. So this is why it deserves my spot number 3 of the house of Hugo Boss. Boss Sport. What can be now on spot number 2? Well, we jump a decade and we jump straight on to 1993 when Boss in the autumn, I remember it still, released a fragrance called Elements. barely something in there. I have another backup bottle in my wine freezer, actually, a wine cooler. And this is very nice. Actually, the same here. What I want to mention, actually, if I wouldn't say anything about Bossport, you see what you get. Or you get what you see, sorry. This bottle says it all about the fragrance. This green, this type of square bottle, you really get what you see there. Same here. This brownish stuff with a little bit of gold there, and this, you know, this rocky landscape sort of stylish thing on the bottle itself, on the glass. This fragrance supposed to be representing the elements, the four elements, which were the earth, water, air, and fire. And it does that. This is why, hence the name, right? And it does that perfectly because it's cool, it's warm, it's a bit dirty as well. There's some great greenish type of brownish dirtiness in there, and it's a bit aquatic as well. So it's warm, it's spicy, it's aromatic, it's watery, yet it's very uplifting and it's not sitting on you. It's definitely not pulling energy away from you. It gives you energy. So I think, you know, the marketing and the smell, they meet each other very well. And it's definitely for me an autumn type of fragrance. While sport was something that's really a sportive fragrance for sport occasions, or, you know, maybe lazy afternoons. This one is something that fits you perfectly in the autumn time. It's just so warm, so comforting, and the performance, you know, if you spray 3-4 sprays under your shirt and you come home in the evening, you can still smell this. You know, the dry down is kind of mossy, woody, mossy, warm, a bit sharp as well still, and it's so comforting. There's aldehydes in this, definitely lavender, also maybe some flowery aspects in there, but definitely the aldehydes, the lavender, the woodiness, and the leather. Being orchestrated so well that they actually achieve to represent the four elements, which were earth, fire, water, and air. Okay, this is how it deserved spot number 2 in my lineup. Boss Elements, 1993. And then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we jump back into the 80s. Yes, we do. And let's see if you recognize this box. Or if you recognize this bottle. Oh, turn it a little bit. Yes. Spot number 1 is Boss Spirit from the year of 1989, ladies and gentlemen. If I would have to describe this fragrance with one single sentence, I would say this is 80s sunshine bottled. Why? It's nostalgic. You could say it's dated, although I never use that, or rarely use that, because I don't like it. It's just transporting you back to the peaceful and laid back 80s, and the aromatic spiciness that is being bottled here is so bright that it's so uplifting. Again, aldehydes in there, artemisia in there, maybe galbanum in there, leather. The entire combination is warm, aromatic, uplifting, spicy, and bright. Very, very invigorating, without being citrusy, without being aquatic. You could if you look at the juice and if you smell it, like you could say it's yeah, a typical child of the 80s, which is true in a way, but I've seen loads of 70s and 80s heavy fougères that, or smelled them rather, that are actually sucking energy away from you. This is not doing, this is the opposite. This is giving you the energy, the brightness, the invigorating aspects throughout the day, lasts you throughout the day. And it does so in a very easygoing, not pushy, yet very high quality manner. This is why I've put it on my spot number one here, because it's just, you know, I have the inlay here. There's a little bit of a card in here where Hugo Boss was trying to explain this is how the fragrances at those days, the 80s, came actually. You know, you had a description of the line, you know, in several languages. They made the effort to explain what you're holding in your hands, you know. This is something that, and even the paper still smells of the fragrance. It's fantastic. It just tells you about the quality. And in this, they describe that this is a new type of fragrance for a new type of man, right? So 89, obviously the 80s were coming to an end, and the 90s, the new exciting decade, was knocking on the door, and they thought at Hugo Boss, maybe let's step one ahead after Boss number one and maybe Boss Sport, and let's create something new. And this is how they try to get this across in this little paper here. And this is really how it smells, like a step between the 80s and 90s, on the verge of these two decades, trying to do something that at the end did not prevail or did not last, in terms of, you know, the market did not create a great hype for this, and it has been discontinued, just like the other two actually. So maybe my taste is bad, but let's see where Hugo Boss the scent will end up in 2 years' time. Just mark my word there. So it's definitely a child of the verge between the 80s and the 90s. Obviously, at those times, or at that time, huge scents have been, or huge fragrances have been created, like Cool Water, Eternity, stuff like this, that was just, you know, like dominating the market at the time. So maybe this release from Hugo Boss, trying to be, you know, an ambassador of the 80s going into 90s, didn't really work out for some reason. Obviously it didn't work out because it has been discontinued, but the fragrance itself, it is definitely, especially for a collector, all the three of them is worth to try. 80s Sunshine Bottled, spicy, aromatic, uplifting, bright fragrance, Boss Spirit, number one. Then we had on number two, Boss Elements, right? And on number three, we had the lovely Boss Sport. So for me, to my nose, to my taste, these are the top three Hugo Boss fragrances. I'm not necessarily slamming any of the newer releases, but what I say is that this was quality in terms of being special, in terms of creating something new, in terms of the quality of the juice and the performance of the juice as well. Each of them is outstanding in all of these points, and this is why they made my top three and not the others. Okay, thanks very much. For collectors, if you can get your hands on any of these, do. It's worth it. Thanks very much. This was Chris from Scentland. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with more. Take care.